Hi there, my name is James Lee. Welcome to my channel 5149, where I talk business, politics, and society. It's officially been just over a year of me making and uploading videos to YouTube. So I just want to thank everyone watching this for your support. Couldn't do it without you. Okay, today I want to talk about the origins of the coronavirus. I want to clarify though that this is not a video of me examining the evidence of potential origins and then giving my opinion on which theory I think is more likely to be true. Instead, I more so want to examine motivations or reasons why certain narratives are elevated and why others are discarded, and what impact that has on society, specifically how it could change the way we interact with and interpret information that has been presented to us. Even so, I want to be very careful when speaking about this because I don't want to spread misinformation, and my channel really isn't a conspiratorial one in nature, but I do believe that this topic is an important one. So the primary theory I think we're all familiar with is that the origin of the novel coronavirus is from nature. It's a virus that came from bats or some other kind of wildlife and then mutated to infect humans and spread in a wet market in Wuhan, China. Then there is a second theory which has been more or less discouraged by the mainstream media and most scientists, that the coronavirus leaked from a lab that does research on infectious diseases, specifically the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Like I was saying, this video isn't about me trying to determine which one is more likely. So the only thing I'm going to say regarding that is to cite an article published by Scientific American on April 2nd, 2021, saying, "Nobody has found a coronavirus in a Wuhan lab that experiments made more transmissible, became identical to SARS-CoV-2, and then infected a worker. Likewise, nobody has found a coronavirus in the wild that mutated to become similar to SARS-CoV-2 as it passed through other animals and then infected humans. Both ideas are largely evidence-free at this point. They are both possible." So if both theories are evidence-free at this point, why is it that one theory is mainstream and the other considered a conspiracy? To answer that, I want to go back way back to 2002 to the first season of HBO's The Wire.
You follow drugs, you get drug addicts and drug dealers. But you start to follow the money, and you don't know where the fuck it's gonna take you.
Now, why am I playing that clip, apart from the fact that it's an awesome show? Well, the coronavirus is obviously different from drugs, but I think there is an important analogy to be made here. Namely, if we follow the disease, we'll maybe find patients and doctors, but if we follow the money, that's where things could get a little interesting. So the show follows the Baltimore Police Department's investigation into a violent drug dealing ring, and all the police chief wants to do is find some drugs, maybe pin the operation on somebody, and put on a good show for the media. You know, kind of like a let's show off how good a police we are, ease the public worries, and most importantly, avoid sullying our reputation and our relationships. But instead, this ragtag team of detectives goes against the department's wishes and digs into and finds all sorts of sketchy stuff. So back in the real world, I think the same type of behavior can be observed in the early days of the pandemic, and kind of explains this statement made by a group of 27 scientists, public health professionals, and medical professionals in February of 2020, even before mass lockdowns had been implemented in much of the world. "We stand together to strongly condemn conspiracy theories suggesting that COVID-19 does not have a natural origin. Scientists from multiple countries have published and analyzed genomes of the causative agent, severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2, and they overwhelmingly conclude that this coronavirus originated in wildlife, as have so many other emerging pathogens." The message is quite simple. Viruses like these have originated in the past from wildlife. This one is no different, and we're on top of solving the issue. And it largely worked.
As scientists work to contain the coronavirus, researchers are still trying to figure out where it came from. Early research suggests humans picked up the coronavirus from animals, possibly bats.
Based on initial genetic testing and past outbreaks, they say it's likely the coronavirus originated in bats.
And why bats? How confident are you that the coronavirus came from bats?
So I'm probably 90% confident that the new coronavirus came from bats.
I mean, these are scientists and researchers, so from my point of view, I shouldn't really have any reason to doubt them, or they shouldn't have any reason to promulgate or promote a certain narrative beyond what they objectively think is the truth. And like we just saw, the mainstream media mostly reinforced the same narrative that the coronavirus came from some kind of wildlife. Also didn't help that most mainstream outlets are anti-Trump, so when Trump weighed in saying that he saw evidence that it came from a lab in Wuhan, It was pretty much game over at that point for the lab leak theory in the eyes of most folks working in mainstream news. But if we start following the money, as warned by The Wire's detective Lester Freeman, we start to notice some interesting things that might make people uncomfortable. One of the co-signers of the February 2020 statement I just cited that concluded that this novel coronavirus originated from wildlife is a gentleman by the name of Peter Daszak. And he is the president of an organization called EcoHealth Alliance, a nonprofit focused on the research and prevention of infectious diseases. And it just so happens that in 2014, the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, the part of the NIH headed by Dr. Anthony Fauci, awarded a $3.4 million grant to the New York-based Eco Alliance. The group subsequently hired the virology lab in Wuhan to conduct genetic analyses of bat coronaviruses collected in Yunnan province, about 800 miles southwest of Wuhan. EcoHealth Alliance paid the lab $598,500 over 5 years. You can see how things are beginning to get murky here. What if Dr. Daszak's own organization, because of their partnership with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, ended up being tied to the cause of this pandemic? What if Dr. Fauci, by funding the organization that partnered with the Wuhan lab, could now be tangentially linked to the outbreak as well? Not deliberate, of course, but even if it was accidental, it now gives a proper motive for scientists and researchers, including Dr. Fauci, to quickly put out a statement that ruled out, or at the very least strongly discouraged, the lab leak theory. And honestly, I don't really blame the scientists and researchers here. Access to funding, grants, research facilities, partnerships are all on the line. Careers are on the line. For Dr. Fauci, being the head of the NIAID for so many decades, his legacy is somewhat on the line as well. In fact, the funding has already been impacted. Last April, EcoHealth Alliance's research grant was abruptly terminated by the National Institute of Health. You know, I really can sympathize with how they've handled this. It's really very human, and I believe these are generally good people who want to help the world. So naturally, I would hope that my research had nothing to do with an outbreak of a virus that's killed more than 3 million people and counting. So they kind of all got together and decided that they were going to try and steer the narrative in a direction that would perhaps be more favorable to them. And it worked. Me, along with many other folks, thought that, yeah, perhaps it's probably from bats, the wet market, irresponsible Chinese health practices, and maybe they are going to be proven right in the end. But the problem is, and this is why I was compelled to talk about this in the first place, is that they don't know yet. And they didn't know for sure the origins of COVID when they made all those definitive statements about the origins of COVID. It's very concerning because we need to be able to trust scientists and researchers. I want to be able to trust scientists and researchers. It has huge implications in the short term for things like COVID vaccines, but also for long-term public health. And as objective researchers or scientists, I would have hoped the initial response would have been more like, well, in the past, these viruses have come from bats and other wildlife, but there's also this virology lab in Wuhan where a leak could have occurred. And so we're going to look into both and come back with the truth. I'm always kind of surprised when people are like, how can these conspiracies exist? Well, they grow not from some person spreading misinformation, but from previous instances of misinformation and cover-ups from authoritative sources. I always think of the Ricky Gervais movie, The Invention of Lying. In the movie, it's like this alternative world where everybody tells the truth and he is the first person with the ability to lie. And so everyone believes all the ridiculous things he's saying. If the government never lied to us, we would have no reason not to believe them. But anyway, politicians and the government, the road to redemption there, if it ever comes, is a long one, considering all of the cover-ups and lies about things like the Vietnam War, torture, weapons of mass destruction, all kinds of stuff could go on and on. But if we lose trust in science, it would result in perhaps irreversible damage to society as a whole. Thank you so much for watching. It's a story that more and more people are talking about, which I think is a good thing. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Like I said, I'm not really a conspiracy theory kind of guy, but if the former head of the CDC has come out saying that this virus is potentially man-made, I think we might be crossing over into mainstream territory. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and feel compelled to do so, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. As always, thank you for your time, and I will see you next week.